ज्ञानतिवृन्दस्य ज्ञानञ्जलशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वापरान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरून् श्रीयुतपरकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान सह गणवलितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये पंचकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपसिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Okay, Hare Krishna. So we are continuing with reading from Bhagavad-gītā as it is, from His Divine Grace, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda, founder-ācārya of International Society for Krishna Consciousness. So last time we started chapter 4 from Bhagavad-gītā, and we were speaking about the disciplic succession, or in other ways, the words, how the Bhagavad-gītā was delivered from Lord Krishna through the son God Vivasvan, his son through Manu, and Manu's son Ikshvaku also. So in this way, Bhagavad-gītā was delivered to human society. But then Krishna discovered that in the means of time, because this is how material world works, everything falls apart. So he had to reestablish the disciplic succession again, and that's why he approached Arjuna, and Arjuna was the another link in this disciplic succession, so it could continue. Okay, so we will continue to know more about something about Krishna, because this is the topic of the chapter, is transcendental knowledge. So start Shloka 4. Arjuna Vacha apram bhavato janma param janma vivasvataha katametad vijaniyam vam ado proktavamiti. Arjuna Vacha, Arjuna said, aparam junior bhavataha, your janma birth, param superior janma birth, vivasvataha of the sun god. Katam, how etat this vijaniyam shall I understand? Tvam, you, ado in the beginning, proktavan instructed, iti dus. Translation: Arjuna said, the sun god Vivasvan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that in the beginning you instructed these signs to him? Purport: Arjuna is an accepted devotee of the Lord, so how could he not believe Krishna's words? Sorry. The fact is that Arjuna is not inquiring for himself, but for those who do not believe in the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or for the demons who do not like the idea that Krishna should be accepted as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For them only Arjuna inquires on this point, as if he were himself not aware of the Personality of Godhead or Krishna. As it will be evident from the 10th chapter, Arjuna knew perfectly well that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the fountainhead of everything, and the last word in transcendence. Of course, Krishna also appeared as the son of Devaki on this earth. How Krishna remained the same person, Supreme Personality of Godhead, the eternal original person, is very difficult for an ordinary man to understand. Therefore, to clarify this point, Arjuna put this question before Krishna so that he himself could speak authoritatively. That Krishna is the Supreme Authority is accepted by the whole world, not only at present, but from time immemorial, and the demons alone reject him. Anyway, since Krishna is the authority accepted by all, Arjuna put this question before him in order that Krishna would describe himself without being depicted by the demons. who always try to distort him in a way understandable to the demons and their followers. It is necessary that everyone, for his own interest, know the signs of Krishna. Therefore, when Krishna himself speaks about himself, it is auspicious for all the worlds. To the demons, such explanations by Krishna himself may appear to be strange, because the demons always study Krishna from their own standpoint. But those who are devotees heartily welcome the statements of Krishna when they are spoken by Krishna himself. The devotees will always worship such authoritative statements of Krishna because they are always eager to know more and more about him. The atheists who consider Krishna an ordinary man may in this way come to know that Krishna is superhuman, that he is Satchitananda Vigraha, the eternal form of bliss and knowledge, that he is transcendental, and that he is above the domination of the modes of material nature and above the influence of time and space. A devotee of Krishna like Arjuna is undoubtedly above any misunderstanding of the transcendental position of Krishna. Arjuna's putting this question before the Lord is simply an attempt by the devotee to defy the atheistic attitude of persons who consider Krishna to be an ordinary human being, subject to the modes of material nature. So Arjuna is supposedly asking very kind of materialistic question, that he's asking Krishna, how is it possible that Krishna was born quite recently and Vivaswan is in charge of his duty of a sun god so many millions of years already? So how is it possible that Krishna instructed sun god Vivaswan? So this is basically a materialistic point of view of persons who do not understand that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he just appears in his different avatars or incarnations. I don't very like this word incarnation, because it means that Krishna is taking some such body. I like more the word avatar, because it means he's descending. So he's just appearing in front of us. He's always present in the spiritual world, but not always present for our material vision. So in this way, Krishna is just appearing here and there according to his plan, and also sometimes according to desires of his devotees. And in this way, he can instruct even sun god millions and millions of years ago, and then again appear at the end of Dvapara Yuga and instruct Arjuna in this transcendental science. So this is basically what Arjuna is asking for clarification, not for himself, but for others who would doubt would bring this doubt in front. Okay. Shloka 5. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Bahuni me Vyatitani Janmani Tavacharjuna Tanyaham Veda Sarvani Natvam Veta Parantapa. Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the personality of God, had said, Bahuni, many may of mine, Vyatitani, have passed Janmani, births Tava of yours, Chan also. Arjuna or Arjuna, Tani, those, Aham, I. Veda, do know, Sarvani, all. Not Tvam, you, Veta, no. Parantapa, or subduer of the enemy. Translation, the personality of God had said, many, many birds, both you and I, have passed. I can remember all of them, but you cannot. O subduer of the enemy. Purport. In the Brahma Samhita 533, we have information of many, many incarnations of the Lord. It is stated there, Advaitam Achyutam Anadim Anantarupam Aryam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atmapakto Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is the original person, absolute, infallible, without beginning. Although expanded into unlimited forms, he is still the same original, the oldest, and the person always appearing as a fresh youth. Such eternal, blissful, all-knowing forms of the Lord are usually not understood by even the best Vedic scholars, but they are always manifest to pure unalloyed devotees. It is also stated in Brahma Samhita 539. Rama dimurtishu kalani yamena tishtana nana avatarama karod bhuvaneshu kintu Krishna svayam samabhavat paramak pumamyo govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, Krishna, who is always situated in various incarnations, such as Rama, Nrsimha, and many sub-incarnations as well. But who is the original personality of Godhead, known as Krishna, and who incarnates personally also. Okay. So here we see that Krishna is speaking, that they met together with Arjuna during many births in the past, but Arjuna, because he's also playing the role of conditioned soul, and conditioned souls forget their past lives, but Krishna doesn't forget, so he remembers everything. This is basically the nature of our material body. The once we leave the body, it also means that we leave all the memory from the present life, and we are taking new life. So we don't remember, usually we don't remember previous lives. There are instances that sometimes people can remember, but it is not ordinary thing to remember previous lives. So that's why Krishna explained to Arjuna that they spent together many lifetimes before, and Krishna is also coming as different incarnations or avatars, as it is confirmed in Brahma Samhita here in these verses. In the Vedas also it is said that the Lord, although one without a second, manifests himself in innumerable forms. He is like a Vaidurya stone which changes color yet still remains one. All those multi-forms are understood by the pure unalloyed devotees, but not by a simple study of the Vedas, where they Shudurlabha Madurlabha Mahatma Bhakto. Devotees like Arjuna are constant companions of the Lord, and whenever the Lord incarnates, the associate devotees also incarnate in order to serve the Lord in different capacities. Arjuna is one of these devotees, and in this verse it is understood that some millions of years ago, when Lord Krishna spoke the Bhagavad-gītā to the sun god Vivasvana, Arjuna in a different capacity was also present. But the difference between the Lord and Arjuna is that the Lord remembered the incidents, whereas Arjuna could not remember. That is the difference between the part and parcel living entity and the Supreme Lord. Although Arjuna is addressed herein as the mighty hero who could subdue the enemies, he is unable to recall what had happened in his various past births. Therefore, a living entity, however great he may be in the material estimation, can never equal the Supreme Lord. Anyone who is a constant companion of the Lord is certainly a liberated person, but he cannot be equal to the Lord. The Lord is described in the Brahma Samhita as infallible, achyuta, which means that he never forgets himself, even though he is in material contact. Therefore, the Lord and the living entity can never be equal in all respects, even if the living entity is as liberated as Arjuna. Although Arjuna is a devotee of the Lord, he sometimes forgets the nature of the Lord. But by the divine grace, a devotee can at once understand the infallible condition of the Lord, whereas a non-devotee or a demon cannot understand his transcendental nature. Consequently, these descriptions in the Gita cannot be understood by demonic brains. Krishna remembered acts which were performed by him millions of years before, but Arjuna could not, despite the fact that both Krishna and Arjuna are eternal in nature. We may also note herein that the living entity forgets everything due to his change of body, but the Lord remembers because he does not change his Sachit Ananda body. He is Advaita, which means there is no distinction between his body and himself. Everything in relation to him is spirit, whereas the conditioned soul is different from his material body. And because the Lord's body and self are identical, his position is always different from that of the ordinary living entity, even when he descends to the material platform. The demons cannot adjust themselves to this transcendental nature of the Lord, which the Lord himself explains in the following verse. Okay. Yeah, it's a very nice comparison that the Lord is compared to Vaidurya stone, which changes color yet still remains one. So in the same way, Lord is manifesting his different forms, but still he is the same person. And also it's mentioned here that only devotees can understand Lord as he is. He is not revealing himself to non-devotees or to demons. So this is position of devotees, that they can know him. Also, Arjuna is eternal associate of the Lord. He is always appearing when Lord appears. And Arjuna is very special living entity because he, as I understood, he appears only in the material world and is basically going with the Lord from universe to universe, wherever Lord is appearing in different capacities. At the present, Arjuna and Krishna are, as I am aware, if I'm correct, they are in Badarika Ashram, both of them, as Narayana Rishis. So these are also the persons of Krishna and Arjuna now present on this planet. So Arjuna is always with him. And as it is mentioned here that there is no comparison between the Lord and living entities, because Lord is never taking material body, whereas living entities are taking their material bodies, and that's why also they are forgetting, as I said before, because they are then leaving this material body and taking another one. But Lord never takes any material body. Even he's in material world, he's not affected by material nature. But this is, as Srila Prabhupada mentions here, is very difficult to understand for someone who is not a devotee. Only devotees can understand these things. In Shloka 6. Ajopi san avyayatma bhutanam ishvaropi san prakritim svamadishtaya sambhavamyatma mayaya. Ajaha, unborn api, although son, being so avyaya, without deterioration. Atma, body, bhutanam, of all those who are born. Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord. Api, although son, being so prakritim, in a transcendental form. Svam, of myself, adishtaya, being so situated. Sambhavami, I do incarnate. Atma mayaya, by my internal energy. Translation: although I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. But the Lord has spoken about the peculiarity of his birth. Although he may appear like an ordinary person, he remembers everything of his many, many past births. Births are here in quotes. Whereas a common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone is asked what he did exactly at the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. And yet men often dare claim to be God or Krishna. One should not be misled by such meaningless claims. Then again, the Lord explains his prakriti, or his form. Prakriti means nature as well as svarupa, or one's own form. The Lord says that he appears in his own body. He does not change his body as the common living entity changes from one body to another. The conditioned soul may have one kind of body in the present birth, but he has a different body in the next birth. In the material world, the living entity has no fixed body, but transmigrates from one body to another. The Lord, however, does not do so. Whenever he appears, he does so in the same original body by his internal potency. In other words, Krishna appears in this material world in his original eternal form, with two hands holding a flute. He appears exactly in his eternal body, uncontaminated by the material world. Although he appears in the same transcendental body and is Lord of the universe, it still appears that he takes his birth like an ordinary living entity. And although his body does not deteriorate like a material body, it still appears that Lord Krishna grows from childhood to boyhood and from boyhood to youth. But astonishingly enough, he never ages beyond youth. At the same time of the battle of Kurukshetra, he had many grandchildren at home, or in other words, he had sufficiently aged by material calculations. Still looked just like a young man, 20 or 25 years old. We never see a picture of Krishna in old age because he never grows old like us. Although he is the oldest person in the whole creation, past, present, and future, neither his body nor his intelligence ever deteriorates or changes. Therefore, it is clear that in spite of his being in the material world, he is the same unborn, eternal form of bliss and knowledge, changeless in his transcendental body and intelligence. Factually, his appearance and disappearance are like the sun's rising, moving before us, and then disappearing from our eyesight. When the sun is out of sight, we think that the sun has set, and when the sun is before our eyes, we think that the sun is on the horizon. Actually, the sun is always in its fixed position, but owing to our defective, insufficient senses, we calculate the appearance and disappearance of the sun in the sky. And because Lord Krishna's appearance and disappearance are completely different from that of any ordinary common living entity, it is evident that he is eternal, blissful knowledge by his internal potency, and is never contaminated by the material nature. The Vedas also confirm that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is unborn, yet he still appears to take his birth in multi-manifestations. The Vedic supplementary literatures also confirm that even though the Lord appears to be taking his birth, he is still without change of body. In the Bhagavatam, he appears before his mother as Narayana with 4 hands and the decorations of the 6 kinds of full opulences. His appearance in his original eternal form is his causeless mercy bestowed upon the living entities so that they can concentrate on the Supreme Lord as he is, and not on mental concoctions or imaginations, which the impersonalist wrongly thinks the Lord's forms to be. The word Maya or Atma Maya refers to the Lord's causeless mercy according to the Vishvakosha dictionary. The Lord is conscious of all of his previous appearances and disappearances. But a common living entity forgets everything about his past body as soon as he gets another body. He is the Lord of all living entities because he performs wonderful and superhuman activities while he is on this earth. Therefore, the Lord is always the same absolute truth and is without differentiation between his form and self, or between his quality and body. The question may now be raised as to why the Lord appears and disappears in this world. This is explained in the next verse. So, very nourishing and long purport from Srila Prabhupada. So Lord is speaking here that he is unborn. He just, he never takes birth in as a living entities, I mean conditioned living entities. He is just appearing, so he appears also, it appears also that he's kind of taking birth, but he's not birth as such. Even we can see in a 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, where in the beginning, where there is description of Krishna's birth from Vasudeva and Devaki, there is described that Krishna appeared in his 4-handed form right away, not as a small child in the beginning. So he immediately manifested his Narayana 4-handed form. So in this way, Krishna is appearing, even as Lord, for example, as Lord Narasimhadeva, he appeared as a I mean, human form, but with upper part of a lion body from the pillar. So Lord can take any form he likes for the purpose what he wants to achieve. And in this way, he's appearing. He's not appearing as ordinary living entities. So there is no limit for him how he can appear. And also, we can take it as Prabhupada has mentioned here that we are taking that he's being born, but it's like sun is rising or setting or is on the sky. So for some time we can be aware of the Lord, that he is present in front of us, but after some time he also disappears from our sight. But it doesn't mean that he is disappearing at all. It's just manifesting his forms, various forms for our, basically he's appearing to inspire us to enter his pastimes. He's performing various pastimes in his forms. So we are attracted to to him as a person, so we can understand him more in this way. So this is basically one of the purposes why he's appearing. Of course, in the next verses we will see another purposes why he's appearing also, but this is one of them. Also, it is mentioned here that Krishna's body never grows old. In the material world, he appears like he is growing from childhood to youth, and then basically his aging stops. And when he was in the battle of Kurukshetra, he was, I think, 120 years old by material calculation, but still he looked like a young man. So Krishna's body is never aging. He always looks very young and fresh. And basically, this is also our nature as living entities. We also never want to be too old. We always feel as a soul that we are young. Even we are, I don't know, 60, 70, we still have this idea at the back of our consciousness that we are not aging. We are feeling ourselves to be the same. So this is the same with us, that in our original spiritual form, we are also not aging. But only in this material manifestation, we are taking these material bodies which are growing old. And this is, of course, not natural for us. We are not feeling happy in this condition. Okay. If there are any questions or comments to this. Okay, so next time we will continue the explanation. What is the reason for Lord's appearance and disappearance in this world? So for now, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Excellent. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavad-gītā ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai, Samaveta Bhaktivedanta ki jai.